show that on the camera. A little bit of modesty wouldn't hurt, would it? There's the cat, Luna. Come on, take your bum away. Right, I'm doing knitting, Luna. You gonna be a good girl? Maybe. So, welcome back, and that's Luna the cat who interrupted the last video. So we've done knit, we've done purl, we've cast off, and we've cast on. So now I'm going to show you rib stitch. Now this one literally had me pulling my hair out. I was on video calls to old school friends in Australia and they had their kids going screaming, and they go, oh, I can't see, I can't, you know, I don't know, I just did it sort of thing. So yeah, I've got a few tricks that will hopefully help you. As a dyslexic, I think this is possibly one of the more challenging basic stitches, and it's what you see at the bottom of jumpers. I'm just going to quickly cast on for you now. Yeah, the little springy waist bit and cuff bit on jumpers and neck sometimes is often in rib. There's a few types of rib stitch. There's 1 times rib, 2 times rib, and what that means is when you're alternating your stitches, which I'll show you in a moment, you can do them in batches of 1 or 2. So it would be like 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, or just 1 of each. So let's see if we've got the 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's one more. 10. Now, the trick I found with ribbing, and this has made such a difference to me. The fact that, you know, as a mum, particularly when the children were younger, I was often distracted or watching the telly, or just not, my brain just wasn't fully on it. I found patterns where they do odd numbers of stitches. You have to keep track of what you're doing. Now, if you get the pattern and you depends on what size you've chosen. If you choose a size that's slightly big for you, you think, then you could take a stitch off, or if it's slightly small for you, add one on, just to make sure you've got an even number of stitches. Now, if you do that, you can just do knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl right through, irrespective of anything. It will work out. You'll get rib. If you don't do that, then you do have to follow the pattern on what it says, and it's something I haven't ever fully got to grips with, and you really don't need to. It's never made a difference to a pattern, an extra stitch or a stitch less. So 10, nice even number. So we'll just start knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and there's another little trick I'll show you in a moment. So even number of stitches. Adapt your pattern if that's going to help you, because it makes no difference, honestly. So this is a knit, you know that stitch, and then we're doing a purl. So wool to the front, there we go, ignore the cat licking. So we're doing a purl, and then wool to the back for the knit, and it goes a knit stitch. Wool to the front for the purl. So this is 1 times rib, this is 1 of each, and that is what the most commonly used rib. So wools to the back, doing a knit. It's quite a fidget. It gets, when you're doing a jumper, invariably it's like, oh good, I've got the rib done. I can just, you know, zone out a bit, and it becomes more repetitious and more therapeutic. Now, because I was chatting on there, I've lost track a little, so I'll show you this trick. Now, if I'd have known this at the beginning, my life would have been a lot easier. You can see when it's a purl stitch by the little loop. Do you see it? Knit hasn't got the loop, purl has, knit hasn't, and it can be muddly if you're not, if you imagine it as like a little pearl sitting there. That's probably why it's called it, knot, purl, knot. If you're using the even method, also you can just count from the beginning: knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, must be purl. And another hint is, where's my wool? It's at the back, so it was probably a knit that's just occurred. So there's 3 ways of telling: where's my wool, That's probably the clue to the previous stitch. I can count from the beginning if I've used the even method. Knit, purl, always starting on the knit. Or you can look out for the little purl that's on the alternate stitches there. So my next stitch is a purl. Wool to the front, round, and there we go. And then we take wool to the back. These needles. And then it's wool to the front, and it's finishing on a purl. Now I'll keep going a bit because you'll start to see the rib pattern emerge, and if it's gone wrong you'll see it quite soon that it isn't looking like rib, and there's nothing to be done but to take it apart and start again. But at least if you know what you're doing, you'll be better off than I was. So because it's even, I've just started on the knit. I don't have to think about it, which is such a goodness, such a godsend for this. There's no way around it being quite this fidgety. Sorry, I went off camera a bit there. Luckily, you don't often have to do too much rib. It's normally 5 to 12 rows at most. I just did the jumper I'm working on at the moment. It's 15 rows of rib, but you do get used to it. There we go. Another. I think it all depends how much you've got going on. You know, if you're good at knitting, then it probably isn't such a big deal. But when it's all new and challenging, so there we go. We can really see the rib kicking in there, and that's your nice springy bit there. So my hints again: even stitches. If you think the pattern's going to be a little big for you, take one out, and if you think it's going to be a bit small, add one in. But one stitch, in all honesty, is going to make no difference at all. That's a really big tip for getting your rib sorted. The other thing is, if you lose track mid-journey through your stitches, what stitch do I need next? You can see the purls have the little line across the bottom, and that's very useful to know generally in knitting. The other method, how many have I got? So I can count. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Next one would be purl. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Next purl. And the final one, mid knitting, where's my wool? If it's at the back, chances are the last stitch was a knit, so you need a purl. If it's at the front, chances are the last stitch was a purl, so you need a knit. So rib made up from knit and purl, and that's 1 time rib. If you were to do 2 times rib, it would be knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, and that makes just a slightly chunkier rib. It's nice actually. I do like that. So I hope that's been helpful. Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed meeting the cat, and I'll pop her up on Instagram to say hi. I think she's about to bite my feet. All right, happy knitting.